Hello you all, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you're new. I'm on here to share with you all two mixed media tags and two spreads that I did in my mixed media art journal. One is fall and one is Christmas. Before I get started, I hope that you're all having a great weekend. Happy Sunday to you all as always. And I hope that you have a great week ahead as well. So I'm going to go ahead and double back real quick to last weekend. So last weekend, I shared this card and this tag. And I was like, you know what? This is not what I wanted to do. And I hate that I even posted the video, but I do appreciate the ones that liked my tag and my card. I really appreciate you guys for watching that video and leaving a comment and giving me a thumbs up. I really do. But this is just not what I was going for. But, you know, it is what it is. I don't know where my mom was at. But this is what I came up with. So I want to go ahead. I went ahead and redid the tag and the card. Still using this same background stamp, and I just did something a little bit differently. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you all what I used, and then I'll share with you all what I created. So I did use some more because I've been doing a lot of heat embossing, so I did use some more of the clear transparent embossing powder from Recollections. I also used the fire brick embossing powder or glaze, embossing glaze. And then I used some of the Distressed Spritz and Bundle Sage. I also used the Ranger Archival Ink and Pebble Beach. And then the Distressed Inks I used Crackling Campfire, Bundle Sage, and Vintage Photo. So those are what I used on the for the mediums. And then the dye I used this dye, which is number 664406 alphanumeric tiny type upper. So I use this die. And then this is from Simon Says Stamp, and this is called Vintage Love Notes. It's from a card kit that they came out with, but I just got the stamp. And yeah, so I use this stamp right here, the butterfly. And then I use the Sizzix 3D Texture Phase Large Foliage Embossing folder, which I love these embossing folders. And then from Stamps Anonymous and Tim Holtz, I did use a Sketchy Leaf CMS 467. And I use this leaf right here. And then, of course, like I said, I did reuse the stamp again. And this is Thankful Silhouette CMS 116. And so I use this stamp, and then I use this stamp right here. So that's what I use to create my spread and my tag for fall. Just to redo what I did last week. So let me go ahead and move this stuff to the side and share with you all my tag first. So here's my tag. Very simple, you guys, but I love the way it turned out compared to this tag. Okay, so yeah. So I use the Tim Holtz Distressed tags, mixed media tag. And then what I did was I heat embossed, or I stamped the background stamp, which is what I just showed you. Where'd it go? Right here. So I stamped this background stamp right here. And then I heat embossed it. Well, actually, I stamped it with Vintage Photo, is what I did. And then I sprinkled the clear embossing powder on top of it and heat embossed it. And then once I did that, then I took the Bundle Sage Distress Oxide ink and I just inked up the background. And then I took the Walnut Stain Distress Oxide ink right here. And I just went around the edges to distress it. And then this right here, this frame, and then the background, that's from a Tim Holtz ephemera pack. So I thought that was perfect to use on here. And then I used a remnant rub from Tim Holtz that says Field Notes. So I just put that right there on top. And then I did spritz it with a little bit of the Bundle Sage Distress Spritz on top. And then I took this stamp right here from this Sketchy Leaves. So I used that stamp right there, and I stamped it, heat embossed it with the fire brick embossing glaze, and then I fussy cut it out. And then I just went on top of it with my my distress tool, or my rubbing, you know, what do you call it? The tool to that had like the walnut stain on it, and I just kind of lightly went on top of it, just to kind of knock down some of the white background that was within from the watercolor cardstock. And that is this tag. And then here is the fall. So I'm sorry, I forgot the fall. from that die set. So I just put fall, and then it has like the blessing, but of course it's cut off. So fall blessing, and then we got the rest of the tag. So that's that tag. And then here is my spread. So this is what I originally wanted to do last week, but I went with the card. Like I said, was not my best. Don't really like it. I mean, it's okay, but it's just not my favorite, if that makes sense. So anyway, so here's my spread that I wanted to do originally. So I did take the carved pumpkin and just went around the edges of the mixed media paper in the book, just to get rid of the white. And then I had already embossed this mixed media watercolor cardstock with the foliage large embossing folder, and I use Archival black ink to kind of get into the grooves, you know, to give it that distressed look, if you can see that. And then I took some mixed media distressed cardstock, and that's where I stamped the image again from the Thankful Silhouette. I stamped it again with the Pebble Beach Archival ink, and then I heat embossed that with clear embossing powder. And then I did stamp this wheat right here. So I'm like, okay, let me try to give this a try and see how this works. So I stamped it, I heat embossed it, and then I fussy cut it out. So I thought it was going to be really hard to do, but it was not that bad, you guys. So you can see that I just fussy cut all that out. Not bad at all. And then I took a little bit of vintage photo and just kind of went on top just to kind of mute down some of the white background. And so I put it there in the center, and then I use that stamp. I heat embossed the stamp from the Simon Says stamp. And so I heat embossed that with the fire brick and fussy cut that out, and then went on top with some vintage photo lightly, or maybe even some walnut stain. And then I went around the edges like I did run around all the edges of everything I did, just to kind of distress it. And I just glued the center down to make this dimensional. And then I stamped the leaves out from the same stamp set right here. Heat embossed it with the same distress glaze. And then I fussy cut it out and then distress the edges of that as well. So that is a spread right here. And I love the way this turned out. So yeah, so I just wanted to just do a redo. Something that's gonna make me happy compared to what I did last week, okay? So that's why I want to go ahead and, you know, use a stamp set again and just see what I can come up with. And this is what I came up with, okay? Okay, so let me move this book to the side and share with you all what I use for the next spread. Okay, so the next spread, I did use, let's see here. So I used some Tree Lot Mica spray stain. Again, I used a clear embossing powder. I used some Black Ranger embossing powder. I also used some distressed mica stain and peppermint. And then I use a embossing glaze in lumberjack plaid. I use a little for splattering of the calligraphy ink in white. And then I also use some distressed texture paste in twinkle. And then the oxides that I use, again, I use some walnut stain, lumberjack plaid, and stormy sky. And I also use this stencil right here. And this stencil is number, oh good, what's the number? THS 188. So I use that stencil. And then the stamps that I use, Ledger Script CMS 241. So I use that. Sorry about the glare. And then this one right here, which is Christmas Memory CMS 118. So I use the Santa and the Christmas ornament. And I got this one last year. So yeah, so those are the stamps that I use. So let me go ahead and move this stuff so I can share with you all the tag first. And then I also use some Christmas ephemera from Tim Holtz. From Ideology, that was the new 2025 ephemera for this year. So here is my tag that I created. So I love the way this tag came out. Very simple. It wasn't as simple as the card looks, you guys. It took me a lot longer to figure out what I was going to do. You know how that goes. So again, use a distress mixed media tag. Here's the ephemera that I use. It says, like the little music note, says joy to the world. And then the believe, a little flashcard. This is a little ideology star that I got, a little packet of them. And then here is my Santa that I did heat emboss in black. And then well, actually, this was going to be from another mixed media page I was going to put in my journal. And I changed my mind, so I was like, you know what, instead of wasting that whole page, I'm gonna go ahead and fussy cut out the Santa and use it as a tag. So that's what I did. So I fussy cut out the Santa. So it's got the stormy sky background. That's what you see in the blue. The tag itself, I use lumberjack plaid ink and just went around the whole tag. And then I did distress it with walnut stain distress oxide ink. And then I use a stencil with a twinkle paste on top of that, and I just stenciled the little stars that you can see. So I did that around. Just, it's kind of like, you know, tone on tone, mute in the background. And then I used a remnant rub number 25 from a Christmas remnant rub that I have from Tim Holtz. And then this is some more ephemera, like the ruler at the bottom that he's standing on top of. And so that is that tag. And then the Santa is popped up on some foam tape. And then I did some splattering in the back with the white calligraphy ink. So yeah, so I'm just trying to hold it up close so you guys can see. And I love the shine of that embossing powder. Yeah, embossing powder from Ranger, really pretty. So that is that. And then here is a spread that I created, very similar but different. So here's my spread that I created, and love the way this turned out as well. Just trying to use some of my ephemera from the Christmas collection. I didn't get a really good chance to do it for Halloween, but come next year I will. So yeah, so I use the Tree Lot Distress Mica Stain to go around the edges of the cardstock to get rid of to give it a border. Then I use my watercolor cardstock to cut down my page, as I always do. And I inked the background up with the Stormy Sky, like I did with the Santa from my other page I was gonna do. And then once I did that, then I took the stamp ledger script and I just stamped the background just to give it something in the background. And then I took the other stamp, Christmas Memories, and I stamped the ornament and the lumberjack plaid distress glaze. And then of course, like I said, the Santa and the black embossing powder and heat embossed. And then I was like, you know what, let me pull up my ephemera. This is what I did first before I did this tag. I did this tag actually, I started this tag last night and then I finished it this morning. And then I actually made this one this morning. And so then I just pulled out some ephemera and I just, you know, put 2 for 25 cents Christmas ornaments next to the ornament chair. And then the little like postage stamp there. And then we have some more of the ephemera with the numbers, and then December 25th, and then a ticket. And that's pretty much what I did. And I love the way the spreads came out. Excuse me. So yeah, so this is my spread again. My first Christmas spread in my journal, along with my tag. Like I said, love the way it turned out. And I'm glad that I didn't waste this, and I went ahead and used this Santa for this tag. And then again, when we flip back, we have the fall. And I love the way this turned out as well. So yes, you guys, so that is my spread, my 2 spreads and my 2 tags that I want to come on here and share with you all that I created. I hope that you all enjoyed my share. I do want to thank you all so much for watching. You all have yourself a great rest of your weekend, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye, you guys.